Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So, as you can see from the title, today I will be rating the Boys Love series that I've personally seen in 2023. I think I'm gonna do a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being perfect score, great, 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 1 being terrible, terrible, terrible. Um, and I'm also thinking about doing a ranking video of my favorite series from the year. If you guys want to see something like that, please let me know below. I would really love to hear your feedback on that. But yeah, let me know. So, like I said, I'm doing the ones I've seen. So I haven't seen all the shows. I went through the list of ones that came out this year. Now, some have came out this month, but some have come out earlier in the year and that have completed. I still haven't watched them. Some I've only seen one episode. So I'm not going to consider any shows that I haven't seen at least 3 episodes of for this list. Because there's been shows I've seen this year on that list, but I've only seen the first episode, and I don't think that's a fair assessment to rate it based on just one episode. But I think 3 is fair. I think 3 is fair, and obviously the whole series is fair. So before we get started, please guys, give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so, become a patron. Also shop my apparel. And yeah, let's get right into it. So first up we have is Moonlight Chicken. So Moonlight Chicken, I have to say, I really enjoyed. The first maybe 3 episodes, I was kind of like not really getting my life, but it wasn't enough for me to not continue. And then episode 4, 5, 6, and the rest of the series, I was really invested, really engaged in the narrative. The episodes were too long. Like, they didn't need to be as long as they were. A lot of the stuff in the beginning of the series did hinder my enjoyment of it because it was just fillery scenes and a lot of stuff that doesn't really add much to nothing. But the cinematography was delicious. The location was great. I like these actors that were in it too. And like I said, at like episode 4 on, I just was really in it, and it just kept. I really enjoyed it. So my rating for Moonlight Chicken will be 4 out of 5 stars. Yes, I think was such a great experience. Um, and would I recommend this? You know what? I would. I would recommend someone watch Moonlight Chicken. I have to warn them that it's a little slow burn in the beginning, a little, you know, but I think it's worth going through the whole thing. So yeah. Next we have is the K drama All the Liquors. I like this show. I feel like when the series, the K dramas have those shorter run times and shorter episode count, the pacing is a bit more. There's less filler. There's less trying to fill in time with arbitrary things, and this show is just that. I just like they kept going and like with their narrative, with their message, what they were kind of trying to do. There was one episode where the whole entire episode was like the characters going on like a day. They're hanging out, going different places. That one was the most fillery, and it wasn't my favorite because of that aspect of it. But I still enjoyed it because I at that point I liked the characters and them hanging out and doing all the things. So it's like watching them just do mundane, going to restaurants, trying food, hanging out in the forest. It was fine. It didn't add much to the narrative. Like, we didn't need a full episode for that, so I was kind of like, that's unnecessary. But, you know, I like these characters. I like their story. They intertwined. I will say their, like, breakup moment wasn't even have to do with each other, which was interesting. I think old boy was being dramatic and feeling ways, and they kind of parted ways. But it didn't make too much sense why they parted ways because it didn't have to do with each other. He was just upset and he decided to isolate himself. Well, I guess that was the message, but the show made it seem like it was like a breakup, but it wasn't the case. He was just need to be in his feelings and being alone, and old boy was just like, oh. So it's kind of weird how they made it seem like they had issues with each other at that point, but that wasn't the case. So what would I give it? I would give All the Liquors. I would give it 3.5 stars out of 5. And would I recommend it? I would. I would recommend this. I think it's a safe, easy watch. Um, I would say this would be baby's first boys love. If you want to just get into something to get the groundwork, the foundation of a boys love. This would be a simple, easy watch. It's not take up too much of your time. It's not too convoluted. It's not too long. You can just doot 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 doot, boop boop, and get done with it. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Next, A Boss and a Babe. I will say, for me, this show is a 2 out of 5, and I like the actors in this show, and it's shot very well. I just think that the characters themselves were a little bit too. How do I say this? Because I don't find them unlikable per se. They just didn't move the plot forward. Like, things will happen to the characters, but you would think that would make them reactionary characters. They respond to things that are happening to them. But in the show, that didn't happen. Until the end, I guess. Um, Things kept happening, and our both our main leads did nothing to solve their issues, their personal issues going on, and it kept happening every episode or every other episode because some of the stuff that happened to them with the characters they have their own stories with, they popped up every so often, so it wasn't consistent. A lot of the other characters weren't utilized. There was not really a good plot going through, and it also wasn't episodic slice of life either. There's lots of scenes per episode where our two leads are in the boss's office flirting, and that was a chunk of the time. They were at each other's house, kind of in bed, hanging out. That was a chunk of the time. And some stuff that was like, I guess, plot related, they went a long way around to get to it. Like their first kiss, they had this whole long scene where he had to stay late at work, but the girl had to convince him to stay at work. So we watching her try to convince him. He stays at work. We don't see what work he had to do for her. What was so important that she couldn't leave the work for the next day. It needed to be done. And next scene after she left to leave, and he stayed at work. It was time for him to go. He lights her off. He's leaving the office, and then he ends up conveniently with the boss, and they're driving the car. They're not having a conversation that talks about themselves or world building or anything, and then they kiss. So we had all that happening just to get a kiss. And also our main lead share, he acts like at one moment he acts like he's like 5 years old. In other moments he knows what gangbangs are and drugs and like all these things. So I'm like, is he a simpleton? Is he just like you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Um but I think this is an awful series, so I'll give it 2 out of 5. Next we have is Our Dating Sim. This show is one of the shows this year that really made my heart smile. I was giddy all the way through. I just I couldn't get enough. I was so excited to see it each week when I was reacting to it. I was just really like my heart was just so smiling so big. I couldn't deal with it. Um, Now, it does have a bit of a plot issue. There isn't one beyond our boys getting together. But because the show is so short, things that are set up are progress. Like the relationship progresses. They're together for most of the show, which is, I guess, is rare. Because sometimes when shows have the characters, they get together at the end. Even though they're basically together for longer than that, they're just not official or whatever the case may be. In this show, they were like together nearly half of the series, and I was like, oh, I like that. But there wasn't no real like. It's character driven, so there's some issues like their personal issues they kind of got over with their dynamic, but they overcame that. They communicated. It was just so it was so nice. It's an easy watch. It's very like heartwarming and very the actors doing a good job. The actors are really really good in this show. Like I kudos to them, kudos to them. Um, so I give this a 5 out of 5. It's not that compelling. The plot isn't that strong. However, with the cinematography and the acting and the narrative, like how these two characters, it just I would highly recommend this one. Also, as a first time watching a boys love series, this will really get you enamored. You will really fall in love with these characters and that dynamic. You'll really want to root for them. You know what I mean? Yes, you may long for more of a storyline, but I think you're going to be satisfied with this. I was satisfied. One of my favorites of the year, definitely 5 out of 5. A Shoulder to Cry On. This was one of the first K dramas in the boys love genre that was 30 minutes long. Usually they're like 10, 15, maybe 20. But this is one of the first ones I've seen that was as long as it was per episode. And it has two members of Omega X. Is that the group they're in? There's a K-pop group that these two members are a part of. I think the actors, the idols, did a good job acting, which is good. A lot of the story beats were amazing. Like this old boy's backstory. Ooh, I was shook. I was shaken. I was stirred. I was so dropped in. I was so dropped into this. It was so good, good, good. Um, Now I do think the ending was not great, and there was some aspects of the narrative, like there's archery subplot that was not really utilized that much. I really wish they was utilized a bit more, just a smidge more, and that's because I like sports anime, so like that would have got my fill if that was more prominent in the show. And it could have been in different places too. Some stuff that happened here could have been cut out because it's regular boys love shenanigans was like just having them up under each other, not really nothing really going on. So we could have added some more of the archery subplot in there. But overall, I really enjoyed this show. I just that ending and that one episode was the most fillery of fillers. I don't know if that ruins the experience that much because the end, maybe the ending wasn't great. The ending wasn't great. I'd also give this 3.5 out of stars, and I also would recommend it. I would. I think it's worth the watch. There's a bit cliches in there. But they all have cliches, but and that ending is not that great. But I think you're gonna walk away being like, "Oh, I enjoyed that." Unintentional love story. Okay, so this one is another one that's a longer runtime. One of the main takeaways from this is that the location they shot at was immaculate. It was like a beachside city or waterfront city. I don't think it was on the beach, but I guess they were on the beach that one episode. So I guess yeah, beachside city. Um, I don't think I've seen one of the boys love dramas be located there, and I was enamored. The whole like shops and everything, and like it's like a shopping mall with different shops and people sell different things, and like there's food places, and like I said, it's by the water, and like the houses are nice. I just thought it was so immaculate. Good cinematography. The actors did a good job as well. I think for me, this show was just okay. I'm gonna give it. I want to give it a two, but I'm gonna give it a three. I'm gonna give it a three, and I don't think this is a bad show per se. I just wouldn't recommend it, but I wouldn't discourage you from watching it either. You know what I mean? I feel like I personally didn't find any of the main leads, there's four main characters, endearing or likable for the most part. Now, the last two episodes I thought were really great, really compelling, and the characters were really utilized in a way that was so like, ooh. But it had like a plot brought up at the end, but the pacing of that plot was like this, so it was more exciting. We're like things were happening, but from the beginning till that point, it wasn't. Parts of it was kind of like a slow burn and was like very slow pacing. Like it was, and then the characters not being that likable made it hard to even root for them. I mean, our main character from the jump was lying, so you just wait for him to get caught. So the romance they're going to build up, it's I guess it's predictable. You know it's going to implode. So because he's tricking someone, which that's what's crazy. In all the liquors, that was the opposite. He needed this person But he told him why he needed him, and he's helping him to get something out of him, and he knows that he's not tricking him. He's not going under false pretenses. Is that the word? Yeah. He's not doing all that. Hey, I need your help. I'll help you save your store. You help me with my job, and yada yada yada. I like that. Usually, they go this route where they try to trick them, but then they end up falling in love, and they feel guilty, and they get caught, they have a fight, but then it's very much that, and I just didn't find that interesting. And the other couple, there's like harassment in that one, and oh boy doesn't want to be with homeboy, but he's making him, and it's all weird. It's not my favorite, but I don't think you're gonna dislike it if you watch it. It just wasn't for me. But with the cinematography and the acting alone, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. The Eighth Sense. This one here is a 5 out of 5. I really, really enjoy this show more than I ever thought I would like a boys love this series. This could be my favorite one out of all of them, all the ones I've seen. This could be my favorite one. That does sound dramatic, and I might be too dramatic by saying that, but from the acting, cinematography, the locations, the characters, everything about this is a perfect score in my opinion. Yeah, there were like some episodes or parts of episodes that was kind of like fillery, but it wasn't egregious. It wasn't crazy. It just it was sad. It was happy. It was engaging. It was shocking. It was compelling. It was all the adjectives. You know what I mean? And this one I would highly recommend. Would it be? It wouldn't be the first one I would tell you to watch. It wouldn't be that. I will have you watch some more tamed, more lighthearted series first. Maybe 2 or 3 of those. Like get those done. Just sit and watch those. And you kind of got like okay, and then this would have to be number 3, number 4 on the list. I don't want to be too late in the game because if you watch too many boys love dramas, you're gonna be turned off at some point. I need you to watch a few lighthearted ones that are short and sweet, and then get to this. And get to this. This is it. This is number one. Number one. Everything. Next we have is Dangerous Romance. This series I would give a 2 out of 5 stars. I did not enjoy it at all. At all. I thought I was going to. This is one of the shows that was suggested to me. That was people were like, you need to watch this. So I watched it. I binged up to episode 6 because that was the episode that came out recently at that time. And I was watching. I was feeling like I was going to really like this, especially with the first 2 episodes. The setup was so intense. It was so dramatic. And then the show dropped the ball. Episode 3 is my most hated episode in that show. And I didn't like episode 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I didn't like none of that. The characters. The thing is, I do think the cinematography is good. GMTV shows always look good, and the actors in the roles did a great job. These actors acting down, especially Perth, Go Off King. This story is horrendous. We have our main character dealing with this entitled bully after school to the point where him and his friends had to defend themselves seemingly on the regular. The first 2 episodes, it was crazy. They were beating them up, setting them on fire. He got him to lose his job. He tried to get him expelled. This guy was diabolical. And then he brought a gun to his house to scare him. But in the narrative, he ends up saving him from these debt collectors. And the narrative shifted to the bully character. And he becomes our main character. And, his whole thing is his daddy doesn't apply any pressure to him. He lets him do what he wants. And he doesn't like that. He doesn't like his dad doesn't expect anything from him. His dad is allowing him to coast by. And he has issues with that. Now, I don't know if that's the reason why he's been a terrible person, but we follow his journey with that. Now, his motivations and that whole story about him and his dad is really weak, in my opinion. This rich kid who gets to do whatever he wants is upset that his daddy buys him whatever he wants or doesn't, And we found out later on, his dad was strict on him, and he didn't like it. And his mom, her last dying wish was for her husband to be softer on their son, be kinder to her son, and he's been that because throughout the show, the dad's been jovial, just so nice and friendly. There's times where he kind of went off on him, and he should have, like when they were underage in that club when they got caught by the police. He was mad, and he had every right to be. Or when he found out his dad was paying off the coach to get him on the team, he was mad at him, but he cussed his dad out. Him being mad at his dad about that, sure. I'm not saying he shouldn't be mad about that, but he really going off his dad like that and yelling at him. Ooh, like I said, he gets anything he wants. He doesn't have like he's so privileged. He's so privileged. And unfortunately, our first main lead, Salman, he is just there for old boy story. I mean, right by his side with the tutoring, he is the mediator between him and his dad. He had nothing else going on, and he was only used as a damsel in distress most of the series. All his problems mostly were solved by old boy. Some of them were caused by old boy too, which was kind of weird. I'm like, y'all root for this couple when he's caused this boy all this turmoil. He has to become an escort because of this man and ruined his life. But y'all ship this? And he's only doing these nice things because he feels guilty. When has he apologized for all the things he's done or try to make it right? Because as soon as he's upset at him, he kicks him out. Yeah, he ends up saving him again, but you kicked him out in the first place. So it's a cycle. So having our main character just be relegated to supporting a love interest was strange, especially how awful he was treated. I did not like this show. It was not good. Poor pacing at times. There's like lots of filler scenes, lots of moments that don't need to be there. And then, like I said, the character having his story be his daddy lets him do what he wants is a weak narrative. Really weak. It doesn't. It's like read the room. Like your love interest is getting robbed and people putting drugs in his drinks and taking to, like he's going through it. He quit school. Like his brother went to jail for like. I don't like the show. I would not recommend this. Definitely not. Definitely not. Next we have the step by step. I give the show a 1 out of 5. A whole bunch of nothing. A whole bunch of nothing. Next we have this Kiseki. Um. Okay, so these scores, yes, I might be giving more points because of acting and cinematography. Those things are important to me. So some shows will get some points because of that. But the plot and the narrative can really add more to it. With this show, the narrative I did not like. I did not like my time watching this. I did not. There's aspects of it. There's aspects of the narrative that I was really into. There's one point where our main character and his dad and his sister have a moment, and their whole story about their family was so touching, was so well acted. I was so interested in that. But that didn't come until like maybe halfway through the series, a little bit towards the end. So anything before that, I just thought was poorly done. The romance was underbaked. Now, as I was reacting, I said it felt like a Wattpad type of thing. And what I mean is that it was like we were reading a random chapter out of a Wattpad between two characters, like a fantasy, and like it's like imagine you want to do a scene or a romance scene, a boys' love scene. It felt like we're just watching someone recording their friends act out scenes. They're mad at each other, pouting, antagonistic, and then there's scenes where they're like busting down. Like we're just reading, someone's reading off the page and it's coming to life. That's how it felt like. But it didn't feel like a whole cohesive story with the romance part. What I mean is, because there's a larger narrative, I guess. Maybe not. Because there's 2 romances in this. Oh, kind of 3 if you think those older guys too, if you count those guys. Some of the stuff was like they kept repeating the same things each episode. Like with these our 2 main leads, they kept it was like a enemies to lovers, and they weren't really getting to know each other. We didn't get to know them until like maybe after they got became a couple, and they speed run between telling each other their backstory, which is an odd choice. Why not tell the characters your backstory as you go, and you get to understand them more and like them because of that, you know? And then if you watch a you know, our main lead goes to jail for his man, gets assaulted, now has memory loss. He has to write things down now. He's not going to be a doctor anymore. So his life is ruined. Um, and he still wants to be with this man. What made it worse is when he got out of jail to go see his man, the man acted like he didn't know him. He pretended to not know who that was. And you're still with him? And like the dad tried to like tell him like, hey, he ruined your life. Why are you? And he's like, I don't care. I'm like, sure, it's a boys love series, a Wattpad boys love series. Of course, he's gonna be with this man who ruined his life. Yes, he didn't do it intentionally. That's the thing. And don't get me wrong, like he didn't do it intentionally. He wasn't really antagonistic towards him in that way. But I don't. I think it's very unsettling for him to be blindly in love with this person to the point where he doesn't care about all the things that were done to him. I'm not saying he should hang on to that anger or be angry per se, but it's a little too. I need a boy to work to get you back in some capacity. He didn't have to do none of that. Yes, he talked to your father, and the father was kind of against it, but even he was like, "Well, if my son happy, then I guess come through, come to dinner." I don't know. I didn't really enjoy this. I want to give it a 2 out of 5. I want to give more because the cinematography is good and the chemistry between the actors is really good, really good. I mean, those love scenes were so good, but I did not enjoy this, and I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, I'm gonna say about two out of five. I'm gonna say with 2 out of 5 because I couldn't. June and June. Um, this was fine. It had no plot. The script was weird. They were talking in riddles and like in like haikus and this harmless. I wouldn't recommend this show. I would give it a 2 out of 5. It wasn't awful per se, but the lack of plot really and like it just vibes. They were just vibing and it's not too long, so I guess you know it wouldn't ruin your day to watch this, or it wouldn't take too much time. But I wouldn't recommend this. It's fine. Be my favorite. Oh, this show is my jam. If you saw my reactions, you would know I had a good time with this show. You know what's crazy? I thought Kui, our main character, was annoying because he was annoying, but I still rooted for him. I still liked him, despite him. First episode get on my nerves, but that kind of went away after a while. He was on my nerve at different points, but during those points, my like for him was already up here. So him to get on my nerves just kind of because people you like get on your nerves, right? First episode, he got on my nerves, but I didn't like him like that. Like he wasn't like established in my mind. You know what I mean? So he got on my nerves. It was more like, oh, aggravating. But when he got on my nerves later on, have grown to like him more. So I was like, okay, it's fine. Now, them handling the whole coming to terms with your sexuality subplot was immaculate and touching and very well done, and I greatly appreciate it. It was so good. But having our love interest only be interested in this one boy and I have another narrative was a choice. His whole thing was liking him and wanting to be with him, which is fine because he had his own little plot with his personal thing, and like they gave him more to do or more character development beyond that. So beyond his romance, so it's fine. I wish he had something else he longed for, not something else he had to work on or whatever. But what's really great is that the main girly girl of this show got her own subplot as well, which rarely happens in these boys love series. It rarely happens, but I'm glad they did it. It made me enjoy the show more. Because, when the shows need to fill in time, they have all these characters they can use for subplots to fill in time, and they never do. They just kind of have our main leads hanging out or being up under each other in some convoluted way. But this show, instead of, if they needed more time to stretch out their story, they gave her subplots, gave her time, and I love that. I love that so much. They utilize the parents very well. There's some scenes where our O'Gurley and Kui's dad, or wait, no, who's Gawain's character? I forgot his name. Oh my god, his mom and her dad were having dinner independently of their children, and I love that. I love that the parents got their own little scene. Usually the scenes are with their kids because the kids are the main characters and they're just supporting characters in that story, but they got their own little scene. And I know it's minor, but it's so rare to see stuff like that. To see other characters get a moment to do something, and I liked it. Now, episode 10, I did not care for Crunchy Crunch, and it wasn't that great at the end. It went way too much in the boys' love territory with just a bunch of scenes, and because I guess the narrative wrapped up by that point, so they just kind of just doing whatever at that point. So it was a little slow at the end. If the fillery stuff felt like at the end, that was the most fillery part. Usually the fillery stuff is like in the middle of the show. It came at the end, so the ending wasn't the best, but I still think it's a good show. So I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 for being my favorite. I would recommend it. Yep, I would. I really enjoyed this. This really had me upset. It had me happy. It had me like I was going through with this show. It was, oh my gosh, and the actors, ooh, they was acting down. So good. Next we have is Bump Up Business. This score will shock you, but I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5. I know. I know. It probably doesn't deserve that high of a score, but I really liked it. I felt like whatever happened in the first episode, it was built upon in the next, and then the next. And the pacing was just, but it's not nothing special or new per se. It wasn't groundbreaking. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't all that. But I really like these characters, and I really like the journey they went on, and I really rooted for them to be together. And and for them to have this whole K-pop group as the characters in the show, 4 of them being more prominent than the others, so great, so great. Well, would I recommend it? I don't know. I don't think it's essential viewing. It is not. It is not. However, if you said you were interested in watching this, I'm like, go off, watch it. I may not recommend it. It's not gonna be like oh hey, watch Bump Up Business. But if you it's on your list, I'm like yes, put a star next to that. Get to that show because I love it. I think it's great. So 4 out of 5 for Bump Up Business. That seems so high, but I don't care. Next we have is Love Tractor. Okay, Love Tractor. This is another show that I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5, and I feel like that's so high, but I just love this show so much. I'm so sorry, y'all. I know it's ain't nothing special. It really ain't, but the characters and I like the setting and the acting. It was just I really loved it. Now I did not care for the end. They gave one half of the lead nothing to do. Like the leads, one half had a story arc. The other one did not. He was the same person that he was more or less in the beginning till the end, and he had nothing, a goal in mind, a storyline beyond him liking his love interest. That's his only function in this, and that was his only thing was his love interest. The other one had an identity crisis, issue with his dad, this whole thing going on with him, and he had a love interest too. So he had like multiple things going on. The imbalance is so, and because the show featured just these two for the most part. There are other characters in the story, obviously, but since it was so heavily on these two, the imbalance was so heavy, so obvious, and I think for me, it makes it less enjoyable because of that. Even though I did have a good time watching it, I really like this show. I just don't think it's not essential either. This is definitely not essential. I would recommend it though. I would recommend it. Like this would be one of the first ones I'll say tell you to watch because like it's kind of low stakes, kind of easy to follow. The characters are really likable. It's just that ending left. We could have ended it earlier than it ended because it was just a bunch of filler at the end, and because oh boy didn't get his own little storyline. Really, it's kind of sad. I don't know. Maybe he didn't need a story, but him just being in love with this boy and that's his whole thing was a little underwhelming. But I really like this show, and I think if someone said, "Oh, they're thinking about this show," I would also be like, "Yeah, get that one going too." Next, we have the Starstruck. Okay, so this one was really good. Um, I give it a 4 out of 5. Yeah, it's a little more dramatic. I don't think it had any comedic moments. It wasn't like a comedy at all. It was more drama and heartfelt moments, in the mix. The actors really good job. I think they're both idols. At least one of them is an idol. Um, the problem with the show is that at the end, I think the last episode, or maybe the last two, they brought up a whole nother potential plot line that does not get wrapped up at all. It is um, it's very interesting. It's very compelling. I want to know what happens next. Like I really need to know it warrants a second season. Normally I'm like no second season for these boys love series. The story has been told. They got together. This one is an exception. They have they both characters have their like a storyline independent of each other. I guess that's kind of the case of the whole show actually. Now I'm thinking about it, but also their storyline is about each other too. So it was both things. It just the other thing it came up again at the end, and there was no conclusion to it. There was no follow up. And it was so dramatic. One character's mom is in like the mental hospital. She checked herself in because she left her like it was so intense. And the other characters, his story was not as intense, but it was still kind of like tense with his family. They had family things going on. And it was so intense. Like it was like, and I was like, wait a minute, why are they bringing this up now? Because this scene it was so interesting. I was invested. I was invested, but the show ended. I wouldn't say necessarily a cliffhanger, but it kind of was because like there was a lot of stuff unanswered, like a lot of stuff. Like they're both of their narratives are not like the storylines they brought up in the last episode was not complete. What happens next after that? What do you mean? Um, would I recommend this? Part of me wants to say no, but I feel like I'm. It's not fair to me to say because one half of the couple he got on my nerves. He got on my nerves, and but I don't think that makes the show bad because he got on my nerves. But like I'm also like, ooh, I would recommend this. No, you know what? I wouldn't recommend it, but I wouldn't deter you either. That's what it is. I wouldn't say don't watch this, but I wouldn't be like, oh, you need to get into this. I wouldn't say that. I would not say that. It looks like we have Only Friends. The last one on our list. For me, Only Friends is a 4 out of 5 stars. I really like this show so much. Each week I was fighting for my life because as I was reacting, there's one character everyone like hated to the point of no return, and their reasoning wasn't making sense to me, and I was like, ooh, there's a lot of context around here. There's a lot of things going on with this. So your tunnel vision on why you dislike this character, it doesn't hold up. And most of y'all, I've seen y'all like characters who've done terrible things, not even close to what this person did, and y'all ship it, y'all ignore it, y'all. I mean, people were dragging old boy in this show, but they weren't dragging old boy in Dangerous Romance for bringing a gun, getting that boy fired, setting his friend on fire. It don't make sense. I don't understand that. Now, I do think people were too harsh on this show, And it's weird because this show felt more actually queer than any of these boys love series. Like that's the part I was kind of put off by. They came down on the hammer on this show, on certain characters, certain aspects, thinking the worst of people. I mean, one of our main leads, he's like a nice guy, nerdy. They thought he was this criminal mastermind the whole time. They were side eye. He ain't did nothing but exist, and y'all just, so he's so suspicious. He's so, and his love interest sleeps with someone, and y'all think he's the trash of the earth. And I'm like, first of all, we are episode 10. Y'all still on that? He did it one time early on. Felt guilty for it. Didn't do it again. Blamed himself for it. What's not good? And then another character did the same exact thing. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Crickets. Crickets. Didn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense. But we won't get into that. I made 45 videos on this show, so like we don't need to go back to that route again. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This one I would recommend, highly recommend. The ending, the last 3 episodes were crunchy, crunch. It was drama for the sake of drama. Like the narrative kind of wrapped up at a certain point, and I'm not saying we can have more dramas or issues, but we're retreading the same grounds, kind of, sort of, in the same way. Well, maybe not the same way, a different way. We had like another antagonistic person come in the scene and try to cause drama, which he caused drama, and I'm like, that was the only function. But like we've had drama for so many episodes, and you got someone else to bring more drama, it was only relationship drama. It wasn't like they had the potential to have drama, but like with their own personal work lives, school lives, family lives, but they didn't do all that. It was just relationship issues, friendship, and romance, and that's fine. But to redo all that, or to keep going with that at the end was a choice. So the ending was my favorite. It wasn't that enjoyable. Like it was messy throughout the series, and that was kind of exciting and fun. But at the messiness at the end, it was just I was ready to clean up. It was too messy. It was too. I wasn't having fun anymore. It wasn't fun anymore. But I still recommend this. Down. All right, guys, that's my rating for all the Boys Love series I've seen in 2023. Let me know your ranking on each of the series, 1 out of 5 stars. Let me know why you like the ones you like. Let me know why you don't like the ones you don't. And let me know the top 3 series you would recommend. Like out of all the ones here, which ones would you recommend? Let me know below. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.